Okay, have you got any apologies?
Yes, a couple of apologies for this morning's meeting from Councillor Fitter at Solihull and Councillor Martin from Walsall, but I can confirm that we have Councillor Kay here with us from Solihull. And I was aware of Councillor Gurmit Singh Sohal substituting for Councillor Martin, but he doesn't seem to be here.
Okay, thank you. Are there any declarations of interest? So just to start off the meeting then, again, we haven't, the agenda today is not so heavy, and hopefully everybody have read the reports on the agenda. The problems we had with getting the accounts signed off with being forward at the last meeting when we had the accounts on the agenda have been reliably informed that at the next AGM the terms of reference will be changed and the constitution will be changed to allow only constituent members, 2/3 of constituent members, so it will reduce quorum from 7 to 5.
Good news.
Yeah, so we should be able to get the accounts through hopefully easier. That's happening, isn't it, Helen? That's the plan. And before we go any further, it's your last meeting today, isn't it? It is indeed. Yes.
I saw 3 or 4 of these officers from that seat moving on quick. He must be paying it something different here in this authority. All the sisters in the UK.
3.5 years is a long time to be a solicitor. Any
The number of them coming and going.
But before we move on from that issue of quoracy, can I just add for the record that will not represent a reduction in the rigour with which the committee
absolutely
looks at the relevant reports.
Yeah.
It's just that in particular the non-constituents have a lot else going on and don't always prioritise this meeting. So it's a realistic change to the policy.
Absolutely. I think that's a really important point.
And just to follow on from that, we are encouraging non-constituents to still attend. And but it won't matter if it won't affect quoracy if they don't. So it's a real choice.
We won't rely on them actually attending. So I think that's going to be positive. So, Helen, on behalf of the committee, can I just wish you all the very best for the future and thank you for the excellent support you provided for me personally in the short time I've been chair of this committee. So all the very best. Then on to the minutes. I had just a little point on the minute, Craig, on page 4, where we say integrating blue light services into the WMCA. I think it's the PCC, isn't it, that the combined authority will in effect be the PCC rather than blue light means quite a lot, doesn't it, including the NHS. Which just made me think, will there be a change to the fire authority oversight?
Yeah, fire authority is coming to us in April next year, 2027, and PCC the following year.
Can that be minuted? Because again, that will be a change in, I suppose, in what we do as well, won't it? In having that oversight.
The authorities at both sides already working on their perception. I think Helen can give us more instead of that minuting here.
Yeah.
Because we don't know, it's a legal issue. We can't do much about it. It's the law which does it.
It's
so
just
we have to follow.
Just this fact what responsibilities are transferring. And I think there is I'm not sure about the fire, but I know with police there is a working group of all police representatives, mainly the monitoring officers, I would say, that have a national working party to see how it's all going to pan out and everything. It's a big change that shouldn't be underestimated, really.
So just give you a brief update on
Yeah.
fire. We are already working quite closely with them. They lost their monitoring officer last year. They've currently been using an external law firm, but as of the 1st of June, they've agreed that our monitoring officer, who by that time will be Kieran Stockley, will also be their monitoring officer. So we're starting to merge
I think that's
closely,
positive.
working quite closely with them. I've been on their improvement board, so we're doing a lot of work. Governance teams are working closely together. Our member services team are working closely with them to prepare new members onto the fire authority after the elections. So we're already starting to look at what should come together, what we should keep as a separate entity and what we should provide from. So for example, the legal services we provided some, our finance services we provided some by our internal team. So will they just stay as a completely separate entity? So we're working through all of that in good time before saying.
That's really good. And I think from an assurance point of view, we have put it into our work programme, haven't we? That we just get regular update reports that it's progressing as it should. Was there anything else on the minute?
It was just chair, though minutes I think we should approve it anyway, but there is the issue which was on minute 59. We are supposed to have some update on it. Business community resilience response and recovery managers would not be finalized by the next meeting that was said last time. So it should be something done here to let us know what's happened.
Or do we just get an update at the next meeting?
Yeah. Wow. This is the next meeting from the previous one.
Yeah, but didn't it say they're not going to be ready for this meeting? So we'll get one.
No, that meeting wasn't ready. It should be ready, but this meeting, that's what I'm thinking of. That's as the minutes are written.
I thought it was all the way around. Did I misread it?
Okay.
I was trying to find it.
In the second paragraph in 59.
Would not be finalised by the next meeting. That's how I read it
in the last meeting.
Yeah,
So
last
this is
meeting they said that.
Yeah.
So the next meeting we get an update.
I think similar
Well
one further
spotted.
down. Yes, another one. I think I might be misunderstanding the same thing. Can I go with something? I've come to head at some stage. Oh, that's 63, minute 63. We had other property and strategic assets further welcome the continuing committee support. Particularly as the chair requested that a further update on the audit recommendation should be provided at the next meeting. So it should be today.
It is. It's in the profit papers today.
Yes.
Important. Okay, anything else on the minutes? The action log, then the first one is the MRP. We go through the bed once and for all. Is that work being commissioned, please?
The purchase order has been raised, but I haven't got a date for when the work will be done. But it'll be within a week.
Okay.
Arlene Close receiving the purchase order.
Okay.
So it's underway.
Imminent.
Yeah, imminent. That's a good word.
I would think of something else then. Quite soon. Okay, so hopefully at the next meeting, that issue will be closed, won't it? Because we will have and the auditors will be happy with that. Will you be happy with that?
Oh, yeah.
Not putting you on the spot or anything, but
Hopefully, yeah.
yes, I think just again, you probably know this already, but what we wanted to do is to just get an external view on whether the provision is correct. And once we get that external review, it's probably going to close it one way or another, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, that was it. And the next report is external audit plan.
Okay, thank you, Cecilia. So this report has been prepared to provide an overview of the planned scope and timing of the statutory audit of the combined authorities accounts for 2025-26 for members of the committee in their role as those charged with governance for statutory reporting purposes. So the external audit plan has been drafted by Grant Thornton in accordance with the National Audit Office Code of Audit Practice and sets out an indicative timeline that will enable the accounts and the audit findings to be considered by the committee at their November meeting. So that will then allow the financial statements to be signed and audit report issued by the end of November. And that's all I wanted to say. I'm going to hand over to Will Howard, who's joined us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. So, as Louise said, this is our audit plan for the financial year just ended on 31st of March. It's worth noting it is similar to previous years. We've set a materiality level at 16.5 million for the authority and 16.7 million for the group. We've also set a specific lower materiality for the senior officer remuneration disclosure just to reflect the reader's interest in that particular area of the accounts. There are two significant risks for the audit which require special audit consideration. So the first one is the risk of management override control, which is a presumed risk for all audits. And then also the gross pension liability, because it's a complex and really highly material estimate. With regards to value for money, we haven't identified any risks of significant weaknesses at this stage, but that's something we kind of keep under review as the work progresses. We also want to draw members' attention to kind of the discussions we've had with management with regards to the November deadline. So that is something we highlight on page 5 of our report, and it's page 19 in the reports pack, I believe. So that's just in anticipation of the backstop deadline coming forward for 26-27, which is next year's audit. That deadline will be 30th of November. So we're running this year's audit to the end of November as a dry-run for that. And yeah, that is something we've kind of discussed with management, putting a plan in place to achieve that. And the plan also includes the audit fee, which has been agreed with or set by PSAA. And I think those are the key messages, so I have to take any questions.
Are there any risks to the timeline here, do you think?
Not at this stage.
You started, have you started already?
So in terms of what we've done already, we've started the planning, so that's complete now, and the result is this audit plan. So the audit plan is the culmination of the risk assessment work that we've done, and we've looked to complete some early testing as well, which we've been able to do, and agreed certain things that we can bring forward, like pick samples early and things like that, just to help the year-end process. So that work's gone well. Happy with that. So yeah, it will just be coming to do the audit of the financial statements when they're available.
Great. Looks very positive all around, really. Thank you. Any questions about the audit plan? No, I think that's good. So then we got the internal audit. Matt?
Thank you, Chair. So the purpose of this report is to provide the committee with an update on internal audit activity since the previous report in February 2026, and to outline progress against delivery of the 25-26 internal audit plan. So since November 2025, internal audit work has continued to concentrate on three main areas. Those are the completion of known external grant determinations, the progression of audits within the 25-26 internal audit plan, and also reactive and counter fraud investigations. In addition, over the previous period, the internal audit team has been tasked with and is undertaking new work to strengthen the CA's governance arrangements by improving visibility, accountability and assurance over findings for major external challenge work. Over the past 12 months, the authority has been subject to several significant assurance reviews including the Corporate Peer Challenge by the LGA, the Rosewell Review, and also the Integrated Readiness Settlement Check. To support a coordinated and robust organisational response, internal audit has been centralised to monitor and to provide challenge on the implementation of actions arising from these reviews. During the reporting period, 5 core audits have been completed to final report status. This represents 72% completion of the 25-26 internal audit plan, and the team currently remains on track to complete the remainder of the audit plan by the next meeting. In parallel, workforce planning activities underway to strengthen internal audit and fraud and investigations resource to ensure the service is well positioned to meet emerging challenges in 2026, 27 and beyond. Appendix 1 to the report is the full audit update report. Paragraph 2 of that report, there is a table of a high-level summary of the audits included within the 25-26 internal audit plan and their current status, including those which have been completed to final report stage. In total, those 5 core audits, detail is provided within the report, and that they were bus reform governance, value-added tax, treasury management, which is a key financial audit, Sport England, and also the Arts Council Black Country Development Fund. I won't go into detail here, but if anybody does want to ask any questions, happy to answer them.
Yes.
Yes, please. 2 questions.
Yes, of course.
The first is we have a reasonable assurance on corporate credit cards.
Yes.
May I ask whether we should be taking the risk of handing out cards, because I understand that the main usage is for expenses. Now, if you've given a card and the expense has been paid, it is harder to recover that amount if it's been incorrectly claimed than it would be to have receive a proper expense claim and say you can have that, you can't have that, and then pay the difference. It seems to be administratively costly, and you're only giving reasonable assurance. It's not like it's a good assurance. So you're obviously finding errors in the cards. I challenge that it would be administratively less trouble to have people running around with cards than to require formal expense claims and reimbursement. Because I mean, if I incur an expense on behalf of an employer, I can put it on my credit card. I don't have to pay it till the following month. So if I get reimbursement sometime during that period, it's not a problem to me. I just feel that having people running around with credit cards is an unacceptable risk. I don't know whether you would agree with that.
I think in terms of our, I guess our opinion was reasonable assurance. So it's true that there were some weaknesses identified within the process. In terms of credit cards as a facility, I think that's probably a question for a corporate resource.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Through you, Chair, I'll come in there. So Claire and I, our Section 73 Chief Finance Officer, has asked me to review the credit card provision at the Combined Authority this year. And this is in the context of a change of bank that happened last year. So we moved from HSBC to Lloyds Bank during the course of 24, 25, get my years mixed up now. So that review will happen shortly, and it will consider whether individuals actually need those credit cards. And the second strand of it is we've got an expenses module for our business law finance system that's not been implemented yet, but it allows you to take photos of expense receipts and make claims. It just kind of improves the expenses claim process to kind of speed things up, and it just all needs looking at together. That's what we'll be doing over the coming months.
Thank you. On that point, having seen the detailed reports in past meetings, it did seem to me that you were moving in the right direction. That this is a modest level of expenditure to compared to what we may see in our own authorities, but that the actions that were outlined were entirely appropriate and the right way forward.
Yes, and I think some management issues as well, isn't it? Making sure that managers review the expenditure and controls are in place. I quite like corporate credit cards; they're easy to use on but there need to be proper controls in place. Sorry, did you want to come back in?
Yeah, a second question. I serve also on the Combined Authorities Transport Committee, and a number of members of that committee have expressed concern about the disruption of various large projects to businesses and the general public during the construction phase. Now, I decided that I would take an example of a full business plan and to understand whether it was compliant to the Treasury's Green Book. And the case I selected, there was no reference to an ecology report, an environmental study. The full business case contained a carbon footprint assessment as required by the Green Book. But what I was provided with was a blank template with nothing on it, not even the name of the project. The business case needs to comply with the 5 case model. And the second case is the economic case. And the economic case in terms of transport projects starts from year 0 to year 60. So at year 0, you have the cost to the public of and bus routes and businesses, the cost to the public of the construction phase. And then after that, you have up to 60 years of economic benefit where the improvements come through. The case I looked at had no assessment of the 18 months of construction on a major bus route. And when I challenged that, I was told that it was not considered to be a material cost. Now, whether or not you agree with that, my point is that the full business case did not mention that opinion. It did not say in the business case, we do not consider this possibly. My final concern with this specific example was that the full business case specifically said that the costs included in the report, in the business case, were the public sector costs, i.e. not any private sector costs. But when that business case was put to the investment board, it just said cost, so the total cost. I feel that there is a widespread breakdown in the way that the combined authority assesses business cases before passing them on to investment board. Because I asked of the originator of this particular business case whether they'd received challenge from the combined authority on these issues. And I just haven't had a response to that, so I assume no. So first of all, the question is, are business cases within your domain for investigation, whether it's something you might feel like putting on a future audit plan?
So in terms of if they're within our domain, ordinarily, obviously the entire organisation in terms of assurance perspectives would be within scope of an internal audit function. We haven't done a review of the business case process in 25-26. It's something that we can consider as planning for next year, and so happy to have a discussion along those lines. I understand there is an appraisal process in place for business cases, which is carried out by the Programme Assurance and Appraisal team. I also understand that there are quite a lot of revisions and amendments that are due to major processes in terms of a new project management function which is being implemented within the organisation, which would strengthen assurance over business cases. However, I don't really have much more detail at this moment in time about that, but I'm happy to consider assurance for next year.
Yeah, thank you.
Good. No, I think that's good. Just a couple of questions from me, really. In terms of resources, Matt, have you got sufficient resources now?
So resources are always tight. We currently have 3 FTEs within the team. We have a vacant post as well. We were supported with growth request funding last year, which was, I think, reported in November or February meeting, to strengthen the team. However, resources are always tight, especially with new services potentially in the coming years. We'll need further revisions and we would need to look into if we could bolster resources.
Great, because I think it's most important that you have enough resources to give the kind of assurance that we need in this committee and members need in, if you're going to look at something that may be a little bit outside the scope of what you would normally do, or if there's a fraud investigation or something like that tend to be really resource intensive. So just make sure that you that you speak up.
Yes, I certainly will do. Thank you.
Thank you. And the other thing, I just perhaps on for you, Louise, is Unit 4. Are we back on track with Unit 4 implementation and everything? Because that will be an audit issue, won't it? If not.
Yeah, so the most recent project is the proactive contract management and supplier relationship management that we discussed with members of the committee previously, and it's very close to going live. I think it'll probably be this week. It'll be handed over into the live environment. The user acceptance testing was completed last week, so I think we've got catch up with the supplier later on today. But yeah, it's all looking good and it's allowing us to roll out a new contract management framework, because we felt we can't really kind of make a dent in contract management until we've provided some tools for our contract managers to use to manage contracts effectively. So yeah, it's going well.
Excellent. I wonder whether for the action plan, Craig, can we just have an update at the next meeting? Because once you go live, the problems start.
Yeah, that's when this one.
So be helpful.
Cecilia,
Yes.
can I come in?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, page 53, the integrated settlement readiness check. We're well into the integrated settlement now and it's working. But if you go into turn over the page, we're talking that the start, it was initiated on the 19th of the 2nd, 25, and it won't be there until the end, won't be sorted until the end of September. That's 19 months. Surely some of the things should have been in place before a total of 19 months.
So I'll pick up on that one. I think it's a really good question. I'd have to look back at exactly what recommendations the 2 were that are
So the
outstanding.
point is, I think that should have been in place much earlier than September. When you consider that we started February last year,
So
that gives us 19 months, doesn't it?
yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think it has been a frustration, obviously, when recommendation dates get pushed back. What I would say is before I comment any further, I'd have to look at what the recommendation was. Some of the recommendations in relation to the readiness check have been rolled into transformation work across the organisation. It may be that they're related to that, but obviously I'll have a look while the meeting's ongoing and try and get back to you.
Come back to us, please.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Matt. Anything else before we move on? And we get an update on the asset management.
Yes, it's later.
Okay, thank you very much. Then on to the annual governance statement. You, Helen?
Yeah, thank you. So this is the draft annual governance statement. The purpose of the AGS is to provide continuous review of the effectiveness of our internal control and risk management systems and give assurance of their effectiveness, and/or produce a management action plan to address identified weaknesses. It has to be published when the annual accounts are published. So at this stage, it's been presented to Audit for your comments. Any comments made will be incorporated into the final version. We're also asking authority to the Chief Executive in consultation with yourself, Chair, to make any further amendments and finalise the statement in readiness to publish with the statement of accounts, which I understand will be the end of June in there, finalised in September. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Helen. I have to say it's really comprehensive, very easy to read. It contains the kind of things that I would expect to see in the AGS. I haven't got any issues to raise at all. Anybody else? Yeah.
Yes, on page 162 of the pack, it describes the key roles and responsibilities. And it says that the elected representatives have overall responsibility for the governance of the local authority. My concern is the signing of the annual accounts, where we have the Chief Finance Officer of the PA signs for the numbers, and somebody else signs for the other stuff, the narrative and the political direction, the governance, and all those things. And at the moment, it is the chairman of ARAC who is signing those accounts. Now, the function of ARAC is to provide assurance. It is not to take responsibility for governance or for political direction. And I believe that that needs looking at, because certainly in my local authority, it is the 151 officer who signs for the numbers, and the chair, the leader of the council, the political leader of the council, who provides the second signature. And to me, it would be natural for the board or the mayor to provide the second signature to confirm the overall responsibility for governance and for political direction, as per the statement on page 182. I've just proposed that for consideration.
Helen, is that one for you? Or Louise?
Partly me, partly Louise, partly mine. The Chief Executive signs the ADS to provide that assurance from an officer point of view. Lou, did you want to come?
Yeah, so the Chief Exec and the Mayor will sign the annual governance statement on behalf of the authority. So both of those individuals have oversight of all of the activity that we're assuring here. I think we've looked at this matter before, haven't we? Looked at it the previous year, and whilst we acknowledge that all authorities do it slightly differently, at the combined authority, the terms of reference for ARAC include approval of the annual accounts. Last year, the committee didn't, because it wasn't quorate on the day, so they went to the board anyway. But yeah, I think authorities do it slightly differently, but the terms of reference for this committee include approval of the annual statement of accounts. And from a statutory audit perspective, the committee are those charged with governance for the purposes of audit reporting. Does that help at all?
Slightly, but it still doesn't. And my concern is the political direction more. The obviously conversations with informal board meetings and outside formal board meetings and pre-meetings or whatever, where long-term decisions are being discussed, taken, which might have some overall impact on the current year as a sort of post-balance sheet sort of activities, which this committee might not be aware of. And, you know, it is supposed to be an independent committee. I mean, if you wanted a committee chair to sign it, then why not TDOS chair or one of those? Because those are more committees of the combined authorities than AREC, which is supposed to be independent and has independent members on it.
Yeah, can I invite Matt to come in?
I think it was just to say that as far as I understand it, I think in terms of this AGS, it's signed obviously by the chief executive and also the mayor. I think the questions around the accounts being signed off. From my understanding, it's a delegation from board, so it would be board who has to make the decision on that, not this committee.
That is my view as well. I've had that at the pre-meeting.
Yeah.
I'm used to audit committees signing off the accounts. And there's a formal delegation in place. Local government, it would be a delegation from council. And, that's up to the authority, isn't it, to decide who they feel is best placed to give the accounts the level of scrutiny that it needs. We, as a committee, had training as well, didn't we? Detailed training of what to look at and what to scrutinise. So, yes.
As I mentioned in the pre-meeting, it might be useful to look at the delegation. I can't remember whether it's confirmed annually or has a longer term. So it might be useful just to check how long ago it was last agreed and when it will next come up.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I think Councillor Kay raised it more than a couple of years ago, I think, right? And your predecessor did respond that way, exactly that this is the rule. And now this safer code, this is which is attacking we're talking about, it's May 25, not old ones, it's a fresh one rather. So it's within that guidance, as audit committee, we should be following it, simple as that.
I think it's a decision for the board, isn't it? If they wanted to withdraw that delegation, that would be unusual, I would have thought. But again, it can be looked at and it can be changed. That's the,
Yeah, that's my suggestion.
Yeah.
The scheme of delegation is under review. It's in the constitution, and the revised constitution will be going either to the AGM or to the next meeting after the AGM, depending on what level of disruption there is. Have you on that at that point?
Yeah, I think it's worth having a look at it in that light. And knowing again from experience, if you have, it's difficult to scrutinise the accounts at the board, I would suggest, and the expertise normally sits with the audit committee. But again, it's the board who decides that. Yeah.
Just come back with some answers to a question that was asked earlier about integrated settlement readiness check recommendations. So those 3 recommendations, one is in relation to revisions required to subsidy control awareness throughout the organisation. One is in relation to corporate policy updates, and the third is in relation to anti-fraud capacity and capability. So as a bit of an update on those, subsidy control is being reviewed at the moment, I believe, by Kieran, the monitoring officer from next month, and there are revisions underway in relation to the awareness that is provided in relation to subsidy control. Corporate training's being provided as well. So I believe that will probably be earlier than the September date. Corporate policy updates, there are a flank of policies really that are going for update at the moment because of the updates to the constitution that is going to board over the summer period.
Yeah.
Whilst the date is September, again, it may well be that if the constitution goes earlier than that to board, then that's when those policies would be updated. So I would think it'd probably be middle of summer rather than the latter part of summer. A little earlier, I think, just for some assurance, I think at this moment in time. And the anti-fraud capacity, as you've had the report today, we have developed that anti-fraud capacity with the fraud investigations team under internal audit. We have a permanent role which will be recruited to probably over the next 2 months. So hopefully at that point in time, we should have bolstered that capacity.
Okay, thank you.
Very helpful. Thank you, Mark. Just coming back to the approval of the accounts, do you have a view on where you normally see the responsibility sits and where you think it fits best?
Well, my experience it is the audit committee who would normally have that approved, that authority to approve. I've not seen it done any other way, so I think that would be fairly standard.
Yeah, that's my experience as well. Okay, it's helpful. Right, moving on then to the quarterly risk report. That's you.
Thank you, Claire. So yes, this is the second update of our new corporate risk register, and this provides you visibility of the changes that have happened since January, which first time you were able to see the new risk register. I provided a brief update. I'm not going to go through everything there, but there's a brief update on some of those changes and then on some of the progress that we've made in strengthening and looking at enterprise risk management and how we embed that across the authority. So in terms of the risks, there's no new corporate risks added this quarter. One risk has seen an increase in its assessment, and that's around sort of the transformation and the capacity and capability to sort of deliver all of that transformation activity. There was quite a good sort of conversation at the exec board around that risk, and it's certainly subject to a lot of active management. 4 risks have reduced this quarter. 2 of those are also in that sort of people and culture space, and 2 are within economy and skills. Economy and skills. And those 4 have all reduced because of activity that we've previously identified. Those actions have now been taken. They've become sort of control activity, and we believe that those risks reduce. That's the sort of headline message around the corporate risks. And then, as I say, there's a sort of short update around enterprise risk management. We fit neatly in with the whole sort of transformation activity. So we've recently seen 3 new sort of governance groups sort of being introduced. A next stage for me is to ensure that the risks that you see here have a route for escalation, so that before they can go to the executive board, they will go through one of those groups for sort of further conversation, discussion, assessment, challenge, etc. And that's a next stage. But there's other activity as well that I've mentioned there, but I think that's going to be a really key one. But they were the key messages I wanted to focus on.
Thank you. Again, very comprehensive report. And I think looking at the key risks, delivering transformation is probably a key risk for every public sector organisation in the country. So it's about, you know, putting some real drive behind that. I also particularly like the reference to having risk champions in services. How is that progressing?
So it's actually something that we've tried previously, and it didn't really sort of land. There are certain areas where I've got sort of very good relationships, and I think that I could say quite quickly who the risk champion will be, and I think it's just a matter of contacting them and making that happen. Other areas, I'm going to have to obviously have a different sort of conversation, if I'm quite honest.
Yeah, and that's probably where it's needed the most, I guess.
I think it's fair that where there's perhaps less conversation with me, that's an area where I need to put a bit more effort in as well to make sure that we've got that visibility.
Yeah, well, that's helpful. Could we maybe get an update at the next meeting? If that goes into the action log, that I would think it'd be really good for the organisation to have risk champions in place.
Yeah.
Because I suppose one of the risks around the risk register is they can become quite static. You've done it, it finishes, and it just sits there. Whereas if you have risk champions in services, it's more of a live document, and you will be alerted sooner to any changes or new and emerging risks. So
yeah,
I think that's quite key to good risk management.
Yeah, very happy to update the committee on that.
I think it's a really interesting idea, and when you've ironed out the outstanding issues on it, it might very well turn into something that other authorities might want to copy.
Yeah.
I hesitate to say might even be award-winning, but you never know. But yeah, it's something that's an issue right across local government. Yeah. And if you found a way to engage with people more than happens at the moment.
Yeah.
In most authorities, I think you should shout about it.
Thank you very much.
Very good. I agree. Yes.
On that point, that's a very good suggestion, actually, Chair, these champions for various areas. Does that mean you have to use the existing staff or you need to appoint new people to do it? I'm just, it's just a way of looking at how things can work. The idea is good.
Existing stuff out.
Absolutely. It needs to be to the people already. I mean, let's be really honest.
Yeah.
There's a lot of risk management activity that is happening. That there may be areas where it's not happening as well as it could be. We're not trying to sort of say you need extra staff to do this. That's activity that they should be doing already. It's just about giving me some sort of leverage into those areas and have a good sort of point of communication.
Yes.
But I do think that sort of enterprise risk management and what I was saying there about those management groups now sitting below the exec board, it's having that whole structure, that whole pyramid of sort of where can the risk go if we're talking about it. We've got a risk champion and they can talk to me. I'm still not suggesting that if I've got a risk within a particular sort of directorate or team and they talk to me about it, that we're talking about something that should be coming up here. They need to know what their route for escalation is. So it's a part of the whole of that sort of pyramid.
Yes, I think it's essential that those risk champions sit in the services and understand the risks with. You're right. It can become an industry in itself.
Exactly.
You've got lots of
That's
people
what
and you get lots of beautiful charts and everything.
I know how bureaucrats stand the wings further down on the one line. So,
I think it's more about having those services, having a more sort of hands-on way of bringing up issues early, reporting changes, so it doesn't become a static document that we only look at once a year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I think that's good point. But I'll be very worried if you say we're going to employ one in each service.
It's not my plan.
Okay. Anything else on risk management?
Can I raise the issue of cyber security?
Great.
There's an awful lot of money involved these days, and monsters are weighing in with cyber security. Who knows how much damage they can actually do? And the point is, we say, I don't know if it's Audit is contradictory or what, but that we're already looking at cyber security, but you say this mitigation that only applies to part of the WCA estate, where I use the term once they've got away into these systems, the damage that can be done. So in further on, we're saying that overall a major program of cybersecurity needs to be in place. Once again, do we have a time frame and a cost concerning these initiatives?
I don't know. I don't know for sure about the number of the initiatives that would be sort of sitting under that. I don't know if you've got any more.
So I think so. In terms of cybersecurity and information sort of technology security, I know that Mike Waters, who is our Chief Officer for Insight and Technology, has been doing a review recently of our security arrangements in place and ensuring that we could bolster that where required. We currently have an internal audit which is ongoing in relation to the cyber strategy. So there is a draft cyber strategy in place within the organisation, and we have conducted an internal audit of that, which will be reported at the next meeting. So what I would expect arising from that audit is recommendations. I would also expect, and I believe that Mike is going to come to the meeting to provide a full report and update alongside the internal audit report on the current status of cybersecurity within the organisation and plans for in relation to the improvement programme.
So when will Mike arrive?
So this will be the next meeting of this committee, which I think is planned for July, sorry.
Fair question though, isn't it?
Completely.
Absolutely. Did you speak to the Smith, what did you offer them from City of London Police?
I believe that Mike Waters has, but I haven't personally. But I did introduce them.
Yeah, and he chased me and he said, "Did you want this or not?" And somebody said, "I just made. Can we put that in the plan as well?" Because they did some really interactive, good training for people. That was a real massive big eye opener. So you suddenly start realizing where the attacks can come from, and it isn't just about having a policy, is it? And looking at compliance, it's about awareness and the kind of threats that are changing all the time with people hacking into systems and causing havoc.
Yeah, just because you said about sort of some of the cost in terms of sort of the damage that can be done around as well. It's worth pointing out that we have renewed our cyber insurance recently. So our insurances are renewed at the start of every sort of calendar year, and we've renewed our cyber insurance as well, and that's increased.
I think you will find it very, very difficult to claim on cyber insurance, because when I tried once at the cyber attack, they are really tricky policies.
So I'm hopeful that our insurance specialist and our broker have worked to obviously get us a good policy. Everybody would say that, I'm sure, but I certainly hope that we would. But not only that, I know that they are these particular insurers, and it could be the same with others, provide other services to us as part of that package.
Is it Zurich?
I can't remember which one it is. It's not
Zurich.
So no. So our cyber insurance is not through Zurich. No. I can let you know who it is.
Presumably, to get insurance, you have to demonstrate a level.
So this is part of it. We had to provide a lot of information to them about what we have in place. That obviously provides them with enough confidence to sort of provide that insurance. But as part of that package, they also offer services to sort of come in to sort of provide the latest news on what's happening in the world of cyber, and also to look at some of the sorts of protections that we might have in place. And that's something else, obviously, I hope will be sort of fed in to Mike and his team, and they'll have access to that as well. So
it's a huge subject in itself, isn't it? And I hadn't even considered the insurance aspect of it, to be fair.
Yeah, but well, I mean, we increased our cover this year actually, so we've got even more sort of financial cover going through that. So with the cover and with the other support that they sort of provide, we just hope that that's another layer of sort of protection or assurance that we might have.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Bill Gates being a friend of Czech's fine, you might assume that the Russians or the Chinese have got backdoor installed Windows software. But
it's tricky. I in a previous life there was a £250,000 fraud with fraudster hacked into the system, and I thought, oh, we got insurance, that's fine. And
I think you might remember it was discussed before. Somebody said we can't insure it. It's an enormous amount. We can't pay from the budget. I think remember some discussion on it.
Yes, through you, Chair, that it was highlighted as a risk on the risk register when we couldn't get any insurance, wasn't it? But then we managed to secure a policy.
Yeah, I think they just got those policies have got so many exclusions that that's a risk in itself, isn't it? That it's an issue. Yeah. Okay, well, that's really helpful. If you can get an update on that at the next meeting, which would be a really important issue. Okay, next item, it's Rawlings performance report.
Thank you, everybody. Sorry, I was joining late today. So I think you've had the annual governance statement presented today earlier on the agenda. So I just wanted to contextualise where the single assurance framework fits in terms of the internal systems of control. So the single assurance framework and the assurance provided by the programme assurance and appraisal team forms a second line of defence of internal control. And just relating to Peter's report as well, the findings of the appraisal reviews considers risk. That's the purpose of the appraisal review. So that decision makers have an informed and timely presentation of the risk exposures before decisions are considered for approval. So hopefully that provides assurance to this group and setting that risk is considered in that project and programme space on an ongoing basis, timely basis. So the purpose of the report is presented in section 1. Section 1.1 summarises that the overall trend for this particular reporting period, which covers January to March 26, confirms that there has been compliance with single assurance framework. So there is a strong framework embedded that considers risk and value for money as part of our project decision-making process, which again provides confidence that as the amount of funding devolves at combined authorities preparing for the multi-year settlement, that those decisions are considered before we prepare for project delivery. Section 1.1 confirmed that the business case activity has increased both in this quarter, but the overall trend on year has increased substantially. But that's what you would expect because of preparing for the multi-year settlement. Change requests have also increased, and the breakdown of the reasons for those are also presented in the report. But I think that overall is what would be expected as our project and program activity has increased substantially as well. And again, the last bit to highlight in 9.18, there's new areas of activity that the team has now becoming involved in as we're preparing for new activity. And the assurance that's being provided there then is that we're trying to influence and prepare better relationships with government, so we can influence more in terms of mobilising new programmes and projects before funding is devolved. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. I'm really happy with the report. It's sort of thing we talked about earlier. I wasn't quite sure what level of assurance it was providing. There's a lot of detail here, so I think that for me, being new to this, it's clear that you're giving us the assurance we need that the controls are effective. So I've got no further issues with it. Anyone? Thank you very much. Thank you. That was easy.
I just things that are coming down.
Okay.
So schedule.
Can we do the whistleblowing report while we're waiting?
It can be.
Try.
It's private
Yes,
session.
private
Okay.
business, yeah.
Right. Right then.
So shouldn't be too long.
There's also the 5 audit reports in the private session if there were any further
Yeah.
questions. I know we can get to medical.
I think some of the questions we've dealt with already, I think, with the credit card. It's the asset management really.
Yes, I know that's where your interest lies.
I was waiting for the one.
No. Morning to go. Still morning, yes.
Yes, feel free to take a seat. Yeah,
There's you on the side.
Come down here, better in the middle. Can hear you.
Yeah.
Thank you for rushing. We're ahead of schedule apparently, so over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, councillors, for the invitation today. I thought I'd briefly introduce myself because I'm fairly new to the organisation. So Julie Lane, and the Health, Safety and Wellbeing Manager, who started in January. So I'm fairly new to the process. So I'm here today to present the annual update on the report that was submitted. So this report covers our 23-26 health, safety and wellbeing strategy plan. It also covers our arrangements for keeping our staff, contractors and public safe whilst at the offices and other operational assets. So that being bus stations and other areas of work. It also looks at the how the wellbeing is been embedded over the last 12 months, which is the transitioning period from when it did sit with OD&C. In straightforward terms, I'm hoping that this report gives assurance that the combined authority is meeting its legal, health, safety and wellbeing duties, and that the core systems of working and that risks to our people and public are being managed effectively. So there are no major failures identified and business as usual has continued throughout the year. A strong piece of the independent reassurance is that we've retained our international organisational standards for the 5001, which is related to the occupational health and safety. So this followed a 6-day audit in December, which gave us full recertification with only 2 minor observations covering the scope of 16 Summer Lane and also bus station. So that external review also confirmed strong leadership commitment, mature governance and effective worker engagement. So this year has been slightly different, as I mentioned previously, with the transition of wellbeing that was currently sat in a different department. So the health, safety and wellbeing is now formally managed under the health, safety and wellbeing team itself, being predominantly led by myself. And then obviously when the head of the health, safety and wellbeing comes in, that will give the strategic edge, which I will work in partnership with them to deliver that piece across the organisation. So in practical terms, it means we're aligning governance reporting and day-to-day report support to people so we can intervene earlier. And that's been one of my focuses, is about prevention. So making sure prevention is the key aspect of, we're not trying to remedy things at the last opportunity. We're giving good guidance and direction to staff and managers on how to look after their people. So this was done deliberately because it's the most effective way to manage risk and improve prevention, as I've just mentioned. The way we're approaching this is set out in our strategic framework, covering certain areas. And as a part of the people, culture, new ways of working, we're strengthening how health, safety and wellbeing is being delivered across the organisation, with a key theme of being safe and well, putting the health, safety and wellbeing of people at the core of the delivery of what we provide. Practically, this includes clearer accountability, stronger collaboration and less silo working. So risks are spotted early and managed consistently. It also strengthens the basics of more joined up approach to the risk management, governance and reporting. On day-to-day operations, it reinforces practical controls such as risk assessment, approval, safety signage and compliance activities. This links directly to the culture work, creating the conditions where people feel able to speak up early, which is essential from preventing harm. To support this, we've strengthened leadership and culture because the way we lead directly affects safety and wellbeing outcomes. So this is where we've incorporated the visible felt leadership, making sure that managers are accountable and giving a good oversight and delivery of what is the expectation linking to health, safety and wellbeing. The aim is, as I've mentioned before, is to give people confidence when it relates to the psychological safety. So speaking up without the fear of any repercussions or any disadvantages that they may come across. So just giving them lots of confidence, and then that way we can really deep dive into the aspects of health, safety and wellbeing and support them and build a better management team that can support the employees. We've also opened the culture change takes time with the psychological safety improves, meaning people are able to raise the concerns and challenges without the fear of blame. I hope today that you feel confident and satisfied that arrangements to manage health, safety and wellbeing risk are effective. And second, to consider the improvement priorities of 26-27, including the scalable, visible, felt leadership, which was delivered in our Health and Safety Week last year. This work matters to the region because strong health, safety and wellbeing governance underpins everything the combined authority delivers. It reduces disruptions, improves delivery confidence, protects our workforce and public, and strengthens our position as an organisation that's capable of taking on any additional responsibilities and investment. So to finish, the overall position is that we've maintained compliance, we're well governed and focused, and are continuing to mature and improve, which will be our focus for the next 3 to 4 years. The focus now is maturing culture, improving insight and strengthening consistency. And I'm happy to take any questions if anyone.
Thank you very much. You was first for the you first.
Thank you for the report. Really happy with it. Just was wondering, I apologise if I missed it. Do you have any numbers on how many concerns were raised in the last 12 months? Or if you don't have the numbers, has there been a trend? Any particular areas where you're finding there's been concerns raised or there's been significant issues?
Yeah, so I'd say that the majority of the concerns raised probably come from external places, the bus stations, and that's really to do with the social behaviour. So that has had a direct impact on a number of staff. How we've supported that is by enhancing conflict training. So we've tried to get that across to all of the bus station staff and extended that to certain areas that have those face-to-face contacts. We're also working with Safe Travel, Paul Franks, who works upstairs, and we're working in sort of unison to see how their reporting system mirrors ours and where the gaps are. And then we're looking for opportunities on, hopefully, this week at the health safety event of how those softwares can maybe improve our ways of reporting and capturing information.
Be interesting to see the numbers as well, the numbers of concerns that have been raised.
Yeah, so I can share those with you. We have monthly board reports that we complete, and that gives an overview of the antisocial behaviour and sort of making it like the root cause of those things. A lot is relating to young children, and a lot of areas around Stairbridge, Dudley, but mainly youths or alcohol is another cause.
I'm just thinking, just to follow up, in the last 12 months, there's been an uptick in just general kind of like public unrest and protest kind of overspilling. Because everyone has a right to protest. Has that been factored into the programme as well?
Not entirely, no. I think the predominant focus was what was being reported, but we are trying to encourage staff because we felt that there's been sort of blinkers on where people become accustomed to any incidents and they think that that's normal behaviour. So what we're trying to do is encourage the reporting so we get more accurate information of incidents that are occurring.
Okay.
This is predominantly on transport.
I would say so, yeah. Bus stations tend to be hubs where homeless tend to sort of set up permanent sleeping arrangements because it's easy access, warmth. So the staff are trying to de-escalate issues, engage with the police when necessary, but trying to move people on away from those areas.
We had Sandwich as a target area, and funny enough, we had a case only about a few weeks ago where we tried to help a couple that encamped in the high street with their bedding and their suitcases. But when they were tackled and tried to help, they went back to Cheltenham. You know, and we've had them come from up North Wales and all over the place. You know, and we are a target area, and predominantly young white men, to be honest with you. And in this case, it was a couple. But when tackled and we tried to help them, they went back to Cheltenham.
I think that happens everywhere.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah, I think
it just shows you.
it does. Yeah. On 2.5,
Sorry,
Oh, sorry, yeah.
did you put your hand up?
Yeah, please.
My apologies.
One
Yeah,
minute.
I sense that this has tightened up quite a bit since I asked the same question on ARAP a couple of years ago. But regarding construction projects, do we have formal procedures of ensuring that contractors have documented safety systems in place and are operating in both for themselves and their subcontractors?
Yeah, so the construction design and management area, which sits with a separate health and safety team currently, and that sits within the delivery sector. So that is a bespoke team there that lives and breathes the contractor management. And that's also written into the safety management system that we own. So there's a clear processes in there of how the expectation of when contractors come in, the safety remit of what they work to, and then also if anything does go wrong, there's always repercussions or reports that are produced in quite high detail for incidents or safety concerns or any behavioural issues that they come across. And these are openly discussed with the providers, and then we take the feedback and then we sort of include that into our lessons learned process throughout the year.
Thanks, good answer.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you.
If I may, before we finish on this subject, how about the staff in this building? And I hadn't realised you were covering such a vast area with transporting. But the staff in this building, accidents or absenteeism or problems within this environment, have you got any details there?
Yeah, so accidents on site mainly are related to slip trip falls, and some have been contributing factors from our actual cleaning suppliers who have maybe carried out a cleaning process but not done it effectively, which has then caused the hazard to be present, which then affected our staff. That investigations for those are done in unison between us as a manager for the building and also the contractor, and they provide their full investigation. And then what we do is we work together to find a medium of the root cause really of what that is. But mainly accidents are slip trip falls. There's nothing really high risk from this area.
Nice environment really, isn't it?
Yeah, and contractors. And then the other part with the wellbeing side and absences and sickness, we've recently introduced it into the strategic meeting. So we're probably on our second one is this week. So we've had one presentation of linked how absences related to work, ill health or mental health is, and what we're going to do now is work with that information and look at how we can introduce the preventative side that I mentioned earlier. So what I find, and this is observation from myself personally, is that managers can tend to use support mechanisms for mental health and ill health as a last resort. So a mental health first aider will come along and be introduced, but that's not at the place where we need to introduce them. It needs to be a much further on process where we're engaging with their one-to-ones and learning about our people so we can support them if they do have any issues. And the other thing is bringing in the family element. So having an understanding of there's different aspects, a bit like the iceberg theory underneath, is that you don't see. So you don't necessarily know if someone's a carer or if they're experiencing other mental health or stress. Through other mechanisms, we can use the employee access network of how we can give additional support for those bespoke areas, but just make it more well-rounded. So we support every aspect, not just work, but home life as well with flexible working.
Thanks.
Sorry, yeah, 2.5, the leadership issue. I think as Helen was mentioning earlier, there's some liaison going on between police and us, Mining Authority and Police Authority. They're coming, well, that's now legally they're coming together anyway. So can you, can somebody update if we are rather getting new people here? Be easier perhaps linking with them. They've got the experts on those sides. maybe using it widely rather than just having another post separately. I'm just trying to understand if that works at all.
I think there's definitely an opportunity to
Yeah.
build relations there that would address sort of the support mechanisms for the antisocial behaviour and all those aspects. I don't know what that looks like currently, but it is definitely something what we will be thinking about for the next sort of 12 to 18 months, and certainly we'll look at the new strategic plan for 26 to 29-30 and look at how we can use that.
My thinking is obviously that the bus stops, the police is dealing almost everywhere on these. In my case, I know Villanova, they do deal with it. So that'd be a good idea to link directly with the police. So they can manage that kind of sport alongside.
I think also as well, you mentioned the engagement piece is that we have some frustrations ourselves when we're experiencing these situations at bus stations, is that where they try and seek help by calling the police, there's quite delayed timings to response. And then there is prolific offenders that routinely cause disruption. So we have probably 5 to 6 well-known individuals that are repeatedly named in incidents. So it's working with them of how we can look at how the antisocial behaviour works, but is there another step to this that focuses on the high offenders? Because those are the people really that are affecting the mental health of the staff at the stations.
Thank you.
Anything else? Really interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very, very comprehensive, very interesting.
Thank you, everyone.
Right, so we're going into private now, are we?
I think you need to do it. Can stop it. Let me just, okay, recording is stopped.